Hello friends, welcome to Science Tutor. In this video we shall be looking at the topic bearings and distances. Over time students have always complained and claimed to have challenges on this topic. In fact, many students find it difficult to attempt solve problems. Most are discouraged because of the technicality in the topic, but I'm here to be a guide to you and to show you how bearings and distance can be handled easily. Now, before we begin, there are some vital notes that students are supposed to know before having a good understanding of the topic. I captioned it principles to know before bearing. So there are some principles to know before you think of the topic bearings and distances. One of it is on the topic trigonometry. It is very important. Trigonometry and also the trigonometric ratios, they are very important. To have good understanding of bearings and distances, this topic is very important. Students ought to have a good knowledge of it. Secondly is the Pythagoras theorem. It is also important. Then thirdly, we have the topic we call the sine and cosine rule, or the sine and cosine formula. Sine and cosine formula. Now, these are three basic topics in mathematics that students ought to have good understanding before thinking of bearings and distance. To do well in bearings and distance, you need to understand these topics. So do well to check my videos, check my previous videos. I've made videos on all of these: trigonometric ratios, Pythagoras theorem, sine and cosine rule. I've made videos on them, so check my videos for them, refresh your mind, and then come back to the topic bearings and distances. Now let's quickly go into the topic. So what is bearings and distance? Bearings and distances. Bearing simply tells us the direction of a place, but using angles. So bearing simply have to do with the direction of a place using angles. So all we consider in bearings, we consider angles. I can also describe it this way: bearings simply signifies angles from a reference point, from a reference location. So for example, if I have a figure like this, and then I make this curve, this is my reference point, this line, my reference point, this line. Now I make this arc. This is an angle. So the angle at a reference point simply describes bearing. That is what bearing means. And then we have distances. Distances is simply measurement from a point of reference to another point, measurement of 2 points linked together. So distance from one place to another. So it's simply the length between one point to another. That measures distances. So bearings and distances, they go hand in hand. And that is what we shall be looking at. Basically, we have two types of bearings. So let's consider the types of bearings. Types of bearings. Types of bearings. The first one we shall be discussing is what we call the compass bearing. Compass bearing. Compass bearing. Secondly, we have what we call three-digit bearing. Three-digit bearing. So we shall be taking each of these in this video, and I'm going to be expatiating on it for clarity of students. It is simple, just stay put and watch how it's going to be done. So the first one, we begin with the compass bearing. compass bearing. Compass bearing. I'm going to be treating this with examples. So compass bearing with examples. Now, this is how it works. It's very simple. For compass bearing, the focal point is always on the north and south pole. The north and south pole. Now that brings us to our cardinal points. Our cardinal points can be drawn in this manner, like a cross, of which we have the north at the top, the north, south, west, and east. This is our cardinal point. Now, beyond this, if I sketch a line on this side and on this side, this way and this way, I have something. Now, this is north, this is east. So in between the north and the east, I'm going to have what I call northeast. Northwest on this side, in between north and west. Southwest on this side, so this is southwest, and then southeast on this side, SE. Now I can't call it east north. I can't call it west north. No, I can't call it west east. I can't call it east south. Why? In compass bearing, the focal point, the terminal point, lies at the north and south pole. So my directions, my bearing will always be taken from either the north or the south. So in this case, if I'm drawing, it has to come from the north. The direction has to come from the north. So I term this northeast. Direction from north, northwest. Direction from south, southwest. Direction from south, southeast. So this is how to describe compass bearing. Compass bearing, in simple terms, begins focal point. The focal point lies at the north and south pole. That is for compass bearing. Now, examples of compass bearing, like I said, if I am beginning from the north or south pole, I'm going to be having my cardinal point. For example, this is my cardinal point. And remember, I have my north, south, west, and east. Now, for example, I want to interpret north 40-degree east. That means at the northeast, not 40-degree east. Let's take some examples. A, B, let's also say south 55-degree west. Now for the first case, we have north 40-degree east. This is how it works. North 40-degree east. Since it is at the northeast, all I simply do, it means I'm going to draw a line. I'll draw a line just like this. Remember, for compass bearing, the focus is always from the north. So it means my arrow will come this way with direction, showing northeast, showing the direction. This arrow is simply telling us that it is coming from the north to the east, from the north to the east, and that makes this angle to be 40 degrees. Not east, not this way. It doesn't work this way. It has to come from the north and south pole. So north 40-degree east can be drawn like this. So this is not 40-degree east. The second case, we have south 55-degree west. So let's see how it goes. For south 55-degree west, this is north, south, west, and east. So we draw a line like this, and then the direction has to come from the south this way. This is my arrow, southwest. The arrow is not from here, it has to be from the cardinal, which is at south. So southwest, and then we have our angle 55 degree. This is how south 55-degree west can be drawn. These are all with respect to compass bearing. These are examples of compass bearing. The likes we can also consider, we have a southeast, let's say south 70-degree east. South 70-degree east, let's have another one. Our cardinal point, north, south, west, and east. Where is southeast? Southeast. This is 90. So 70 will be heading down. Or rather, since we are beginning from the south, it's going to be heading this way. So southeast, so from the south this way, you see the arrow? 70 degrees. 70 degrees. So this is southeast at 70 degrees and the likes. So these are all with respect to compass bearing. That is how it is drawn. Let's also consider 3-digit bearing. So 3-digit bearing. So for 3-digit bearing, the focal point is always from the north. So we begin from the north, 3 digits. How did that term come about? Now let's have our cardinal point. This is our cardinal point. This is the north. So we are beginning with the north for 3-digit bearing. Now remember, this is 90, 90, 90, 90, making 360. So a point here, angle at a point 360, 90, 180, 270, and 360. Now, like I said, 3-digit bearing begins from the north. Now, as an example, let's sketch the bearing 0, 7, T, 3 digits. For B, we are going to sketch 156 degrees. We are going to sketch 208 degrees. We are also going to sketch 315 degrees. All these are 3-digit bearings. Now, for the first case, like I said, we begin with the north, 070. So this is 90. So we have 70 around here, 3-digit bearing. So from the north, this is 70 degrees. 70 degrees. This is how to interpret 070. So this is 70 degrees from the north. Now the second case, we have 156, still considering our cardinal point from the north. So let's do it. This is 90, this is 180. So 156 should be around here. So this is our angle. So from here to here is 156 degrees. This is 90, and then this is 180. So 156 is around here. This is 156, 3-digit bearing. The third one, we have 208. Let's still draw our cardinal points. This is north. Remember, we are beginning from the north pole. 208. Now watch. This is 90. This is 180. This is 270. So 208 should be around here. and then our line. So this direction, so the whole of this is 208 degrees. And then finally we have 315 degrees beginning from the north. This is 90, this is 180, this is 270, this is 360, but we have 315. So a little in, we have our line. So we have this to be our 315 degrees. So this is 315 degrees Celsius, degrees rather. So 315 degrees. These are examples of 3-digit bearing. I'm sure we got value from this video. In our next video, I shall be taking us through conversion of one bearing to the other. Stay put.